Welcome to Embrace the Dark and the Light, a podcast about healing, identity, purpose, and being human. I'm your host, Kelly Street, a therapist, writer, and lifelong seeker. I believe that healing isn't linear. Darkness isn't something to fear, and the journey inward is the most important one we'll ever take. Each episode, I explore the full spectrum of what it means to live a conscious, intentional life, from the messy and tender to the sacred and expansive, through a mix of solo episodes and honest conversations with fellow creators, healers, and thinkers. We'll walk together through the shadow and the light, trusting that both have wisdom to offer. You're not alone in this. Welcome to Embrace the Dark and the Light. Okay, before anything else, let's just land here for a second. Wherever you're listening from the car, a walk, folding laundry with one earbud in, because that's the only kind of listening that fits into your life right now. Just notice your feet or notice your seat. Notice the places where you are being held up by something that isn't your own effort. The ground, the chair, the seatbelt. You didn't build the road under your car or the seat beneath you, but it's carrying you anyway. Take one breath in through the nose. Let it be there a little bit longer than you expect. And on the exhale, just let your shoulders drop half an inch. That's it. Half an inch. We are going to talk about help today, about support, about the very specific and very sneaky ways that we refuse it, even when, or especially when, we are offering it to ourselves. So I invite you, as you listen today, to lean into the guidance and the support that you offer yourself and that is offered to you. Welcome here. So here's how this episode came to be. Several years ago, I was listening to an episode of the Jenna Kutcher podcast, and she explained that since the birth of her first child, she found that she had to script out her podcast episodes because she just couldn't freely hit record and get through a complete episode anymore without losing her train of thought or forgetting the points that she was trying to make. Listening to her podcast, I was judging her. It wasn't that she needed to do this that I was judging her for, but I felt like her episodes sounded stilted. I could tell they were scripted, and it rubbed me the wrong way until I understood why. And now, cut to 4 or 5 years later, I also used to be able to record my solo episodes with just a simple outline. I could jot down some notes, I could hit record, and I would have an entire 15 or 20 plus minute monologue just by following a few threads that I had outlined for myself. And now, I have to write out a complete script, which comes out to pages of notes. And then I put those notes into a teleprompter before I hit record. This has been the case since about 3 or 4 months into my pregnancy. And it has continued on now 7 months into postpartum. I'm now losing the thread of a sentence that I'm currently saying out loud and doing all of these things where my memory is just not as active. And I know that sleep is definitely one of the culprits, as well as the fact that my body is sustaining life for another little being. But still, even after knowing these things, at first I was spiraling about it. I was frustrated. I was resistant. I was afraid. I was wondering, is this going to be a me problem? Is my brain broken? Am I less capable than I ever was? And will I ever be able to think clearly or remember things the way that I used to? I forget who told me what as well. And I want to just make sure to say this before we dive in so you don't feel a need to tune out. This is not a postpartum episode. I'm not going to talk about matrescence again today. I've done that, and I might talk more about it again in the future. But today is about the fog that I find myself in for hours a day for more than a year now, which got me thinking about something bigger than the fog itself. Because what I noticed underneath the panic about forgetting things, that it wasn't really about memory. It was about what I do when I can't rely on myself the way that I'm used to. And the answer, if I'm honest, I have a lot of fears about that. So I write things down, or I refuse to write things down. Either way, what I haven't found myself doing is actually saying out loud to other people, hey, I'm struggling. Can you help me? Or my memory is a little bit less available these days, so I'm going to take some notes. As a therapist, memory is one of the things that I rely on, that I draw on most in my work. Remembering details about people's lives and family structures, holding their memories and their circumstances just as closely as I hold my own sometimes. So it feels scary and sad to me. And I worry about doing others a disservice when I can't hold it all in the same ways that I used to. So that is what this episode is all about. Where asking for help and reaching out for support lives. And hopefully somewhere in there, your ability to look at your own life and how you deal with support, whether you accept it or reject it, and maybe how you can move more towards acceptance and less judgment for yourself or potentially others. This section of the podcast I have titled The Blocks and the Ladder. I've been a person who does yoga for most of my life at this point. Started when I was about 15, 16. And for much of that time, I was someone who thought that the props, like the blocks and the straps and all of that, were for other people. They were never for me. It wasn't that I didn't need them at times, but more that I didn't want to need them. I wanted and insisted on being so, quote, good at yoga that I refused to accept a block, even when an observant teacher offered one up. Until about 10 years ago, I was in this spicy, advanced hot yoga class, and the teacher of this class offered blocks and straps and bolsters or even the wall, all as ways to go about deepening or properly holding a pose. And in that class, she said something to the effect of, every body is different, so the support is there to help your body go into the pose properly. It's not about making it easier. It's about making it work for you. And that was a revelation. The thing about a block is that it's not cheating. Nobody walks into a yoga class and thinks, wow, that person using a block under their hand in half moon pose is weak. Or maybe you do, and maybe that's some judgment to look at. But if anything, using the block correctly is a sign of more body awareness, not less. It means you know where your edge is. It means you'd rather have integrity in the pose than to fake depth or to risk injury. That's the block. How about the ladder? Same with a step stool. If the thing you need is on a shelf that's too high, you don't or shouldn't risk life and limb reaching for it to prove something. You get the stool, you get the ladder, or you don't. And then you probably tell yourself afterward that you were lucky you didn't break an ankle or fall and hurt yourself. And yet, when we apply that same logic to emotional or practical help from another human being, something tends to clench up in us, right? The block is fine. The stool is fine. But asking your partner if you can take time for yourself, or asking a friend to sit with you while you cry, or telling your therapist, actually, today I just need you to tell me what to do. All of that starts to feel like admitting something, like admitting failure, maybe. And I think the idea of that asking for help means failure, is worth sitting with. Why is a block a tool? But asking someone else, another human being, for help feels completely out of reach, completely untenable to us. So, what gets in the way? I want to name a few of the things, just a few. There might be some more things that you find for yourself here, but a few of the things that I think are actually running the show underneath that I don't need help, I'm fine default setting. Number one, being a burden. This one is so common. I think it's almost part of the central functioning in a lot of us. This idea that our needs take up space that is not ours to take up. This false belief, I should say. That idea that if we ask, we become more than what people bargained for. The truth is that a lot of us took on this false message early on in life. We learned that our needs had to be small and quiet and self-managed in order to be tolerated. So we became excellent self-managers. We became the person who never asks. And we called it strength because that was safer than calling it what it might actually be, which is fear. Usually fear of rejection or abandonment if we get too needy or ask for too much. Number 2 is self-reliance as safety. For some of us, needing someone else once went badly. Someone wasn't there when we needed them, or they were there but made us pay for it emotionally. Or asking for help just never actually got met with anything except more work for us. So the nervous system did what nervous systems do. Parts showed up and they adapted. It said, okay, if depending on someone is dangerous, we're just not going to do that anymore. We'll do it all ourselves. That's not a character flaw. That's not, I'm just an independent person. That, a lot of the time, is actually a trauma response that we view as strength. It's like a wolf in sheep's clothing. There we go. And then there's shame. This is the quiet one underneath both of those other two, the burden and the independence. Shame says needing help means something is wrong with you specifically, not just wrong with the situation. A block under your hand in a yoga pose is neutral. It says nothing about you as a person. Needing someone to help you with the kids this week can feel like it's evidence that you're not enough, that you were right to be afraid all along, that you'd eventually be too much and not enough at the same time, which is one of the most exhausting double binds that a person can live inside. I don't think we talk enough about how shame doesn't always look like hiding. Sometimes shame actually looks like extreme competence. Sometimes shame looks like the person everyone calls, quote, so strong. I've been that person. I have built so many parts of my identity out of not needing anything from anyone. And I called it strength or capability. What if needing a prop, any prop, a yoga block, a step stool, a friend, a therapist, a partner who takes the night shift, a nap, just saying out loud, I can't do this alone today? What if all of that is just information, not a verdict or a conclusion? Information about where your edge currently is. And edges move. Our spaces get bigger and smaller. They expand and contract. The block you needed a year ago today, you might not need today. The help you need today, you might not need in 6 months. None of it is permanent. And none of it is a reflection of your character. The Buddhist monk Thich Nhat Hanh, who I've been talking a lot about lately, talks about this in his own language. This idea of interbeing. Interbeing means that nothing exists independently, that the flower needs the rain and the sun and the soil, and that none of that makes the flower weak. It makes the flower real. It allows it to exist. We are not separate, self-sufficient units who occasionally, embarrassingly, require assistance. We are relational all the way down. Needing each other isn't the exception to being human. It's how the system is actually supposed to work. It's that way in nature and how humans are meant to live, together, cohesively, and cooperatively. So maybe the practice isn't get better at not needing things or not needing anyone. Maybe your practice is getting better at asking without narrating a whole apology while you do it. Just, I need help with this. Can you help? Full stop. No essay needed justifying why you're allowed to have the help. So I want to offer a couple of practices and an invitation. And if you want to actually grow and work on your need for help and support and allowing that in, here's what I'd offer. Notice this week where you're white-knuckling something that has an available prop. This could be literal, just the step stool instead of the counter climb. Or it could be relational, texting your friend instead of just pretending that you're fine and that you're not having a hard moment. Just notice the moment you decide to go it alone and ask yourself, is this something I have to or can do alone? Or am I afraid of or resisting asking not to do it alone? And if you do ask for help this week, for anything big or small, try to let the sentence end where it ends. Can you help me with this? Period. Not, can you help me with this? I'm so sorry. I know you're busy. I hate asking. You really don't have to do it. Just the ask. Just the, can you help me with this? And see how that feels in your body. It might feel terrible. That's allowed. But do it anyway and just observe. So that is the episode. That's the place that the forgetting things spiral opened up in me. And I wanted to bring you in with me instead of just sorting it out alone in my own head, which, would you look at that, is sort of the whole point of this. If this episode stirred up anything for you, I would love to hear about it. DM me, message me, write a comment. Tell me where you clench in your body when you think about help. So until next time, take the help. Use the block. You don't have to earn the soft landing. It's actually been yours all along. Thanks so much for joining me. And as always, embrace the dark and the light. Thank you for being here and for walking this path with me. If this episode spoke to you, I'd love it if you'd take a moment to rate, review, or share it with someone who might need it too. To keep the conversation going, come say hi on Instagram at Embrace the Dark and the Light. And if you're looking for more support on your healing journey, you can find free resources, meditations, and so much more at embracethedarkandthelight.com. Until next time, may you honor the dark, trust the light, and keep coming home to yourself.